Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone, our candidates. I'd like to welcome the guests we have online and in-house for our mayoral and council member forum. At this time, I would like for each candidate to give their 2-minute opening. I'll start with Daphne, and then we work our way accordingly. You have 2 minutes to give your opening, make your opening statements. Okay, thank you, Daphne.
I believe it's pretty sensitive.
Okay. Hello, neighbors. I'm Daphne Felton Green, and I'm running for Ward 2 council member. First, I want to thank Keiko for hosting this forum so that the entire town can hear and learn from the candidates and make an informed decision on May 5th. I'm running for town council because I'm committed to the town of Cheverly. I seek to serve because I believe I have the skills, experience, and temperament to serve our town well. I love our community, and my husband and I have been active and involved members in the town for over 29 years while happily raising our son here. My involvement in leadership in town organizations and community institutions have ranged from CPRC, Cub Scouts, Vine Corps, St. Ambrose, and the creation of a community engagement organization, the Cheverly Forum for Accountability and Action. But beyond my clear commitment to our town and community life, I bring the skills necessary to play a role in good governance of our town. Specifically, my professional career has been varied with a common denominator of service, community, and justice. Many of the organizations in which I have served have the names, words, community, protection, and justice at the heart of their mission and in their organizational names. I worked in the federal government in a range of roles as a senior attorney and senior management official for over 28 years at both the U.S. Department of Justice and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Since my retirement from federal service, I consult with nonprofit organizations and educational institutions, including law schools, that support and strengthen communities. Over my career and from the legal education I received at the University of Chicago Law School, I've practiced skills that have a direct bearing on the work that needs to be done in our town government. Those skills are conducting extensive research, engaging in conflict resolutioning, listening to all sides. I welcome the chance to dig into the specific issues facing our town in the Q&A. Thank you.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon or good morning, neighbors. My name is Lane Thompson. I'm going to my remarks are a little bit different style than Daphne's, but I appreciated them. Maybe it's I'm a University of Texas Law School grad, and we're a little less formal than the University of Chicago. We'll have to have a little debate about that afterwards. I am so pleased to be here with you today. I have lived in Cheverly for, I guess, 15 years. My husband and I had our 15-year anniversary this past April of living in Cheverly. We love this town. I love this town very much. I've been engaged in it in a multiple of ways. I am a pro-veteran, pro-police, pro-community organization, and actually also pro-green candidate. So you'll get to hear more about my specific views on specific issues, I imagine, as they come up in the questions. I just would like to say that I'm glad to be here, and thank you very much for Keiko for sponsoring this.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the Cheverly Civic African American Community Organization for hosting this event. I wish we had more opportunities like this to discuss our ideas and policies for Cheverly in this campaign. My name is Brian Barnett Woods. I am a father, husband, Cheverly resident seeking your support to represent Ward 2 to help build a stronger, more resilient, more inclusive Cheverly. Cheverly is an incredible neighborhood. There is an undeniable sense of community here that just doesn't exist in other places. We are engaged and supportive of each other. I hope to bring practical leadership and experience to turn our ideas and values into action. As a professional city planner, I strive to foster community engagement and transform neighborhood recommendations into safer, more accessible, more productive places. I've been working in local government for over a decade and have a firm grasp on the processes, regulations, policies, budgets, and programs needed to enrich communities, and was named the Maryland Municipal Employee of the Year by the Maryland Municipal League for my work doing just that. Let's take the steps to strengthen Cheverly's long-term fiscal and environmental sustainability through intentional projects that reflect our values and town character. I would seek more opportunities for bottom-up development that takes place at the property level, something that all residents can participate in and benefit from. I also want to see Cheverly make incremental investments in its own future: new trails, sidewalk accessibility, stormwater management, more youth programming. With careful stewardship, we can ensure Cheverly's fiscal, social, and environmental sustainability. I firmly believe in open channels of communication and welcome participatory governance. We deserve transparent and accountable leadership that continually seeks input and advice from the community. Cheverly has a wealth of experience in its residents, and I will work to better collaborate with community groups and communities that are here to extend the town's knowledge base. I will solicit their opinions and help inform them to help the town make its ultimate decisions. I thank you for your support. Have a good day.
Thank you. Yes.
Good afternoon, neighbors, and thank you to Ms. Barbara and Keiko for hosting this forum. My name is Amy Jean Chung Fry. I use she and her for pronouns, and I'm honored to serve as your Ward 6 council member. I'm a mom of 2 children, an active husky. My husband is Larry, who many of you know as Coach Larry. We live in a multi-generational home with my mom in Cheverly since 2015. I'm an attorney by trade and have the privilege to work for the Honorable Jolene Ivey, council member at large. Since 2019, I've had the privilege of representing Ward 6, and in 2021, my colleagues elected me as vice mayor. My engagement with the community started long before any desire to run for office, and over the years, I've worn many hats in Cheverly. Girl Scout troop leader, CBGC soccer coach, Greenleaf Fitness Group fitness instructor, and cookie vendor at our community market. I've served on the Cheverly CERT team, providing food distributions and vaccine clinics throughout the pandemic and beyond. We did the Cheverly Angel Tree, pairing families together to ensure joyful holidays. I've served on the planning and events team for the Cheverly Village, and I am a member of the Cheverly American Legion Auxiliary Post 108. In my time on the town council, I focused on real tangible results, advocating for 2 times a week East Side trash pickup during holiday weeks, which we didn't have before. Sidewalk repairs that started in Ward 6. I've worked with the Clean Water Partnership for the stream restoration of Red Maple Leaf Run and secured $500K in funding to address water infrastructure and erosion issues on Forest Road. I've identified funding for our much-needed new gym floors, which will be coming soon. I've also chaired the Cheverly Census Complete Count Committee and proud to have led us to a record 78.9% participation rate. I started and continue to provide a Ward 6 newsletter, WhatsApp group, and have active social media networks to push information out. But better yet, I've actively supported the town's improved communications with consistent and timely newsletters, including to every door at Cheverly Station Apartments, online in Spanish, text messaging system, news and announcements, and an active digital presence. I'm deeply committed to ensuring our town remains inclusive and stays resilient, and I look forward to our Q&A today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'd like to begin by thanking Barbara Brown and all of Keiko for sponsoring this event today, so the voters of Cheverly can be heard. It's important because this is our town and we should be given the opportunity to respond to the people's concerns. My name is John LeGlowick, and I'm seeking the council member seat in Ward 2 to represent my neighbors and advocate on their behalf while listening to their concerns and questions about the issues that affect us, their lives in the ward across Cheverly, and in their lives. As a federal government employee, I have a keen understanding of how outside forces, now more than ever, beyond our town's borders can affect us. As a candidate, I'm drawing on my experience as a town resident, where I've been involved in many areas across the town, including serving as chair of the Board of Election Supervisors for the town, leading the St. Ambrose Catholic Church Men's Club, and serving as the board of the Cheverly Swim and Racquet Club. I pledge to my neighbors the help they need with the issues that are important to them. Previously, I was also a teacher, which gives me a perspective on educational issues which are so important to the young families that live here in Cheverly. There's no greater asset in town than our young people, and we need to broaden our opportunities for our children. Local politics at its very root is about constituent services and the resolution of problems and issues. I also have a background in customer service, wherein I sought to find solutions to people's problems in new and innovative ways. One of the fundamentals of good customer service is that the customer is always right, and not to say no, but to find out and provide more information to the issue at hand. My family has lived here in Cheverly for nearly 20 years. My wife and I have raised our 2 boys here. All 4 of us have been active members of the Cheverly community, participating in local organizations, walking around the town, greeting our friends and neighbors, the boys working at the pool, our younger son repping the basketball sons.
Thank you.
I look forward to serving the residents of Ward 2. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is David Tansey. Thank you for hosting this and having all of us. I'm honored to be running to represent Ward 4. I lived in Cheverly as a child, and my wife and I chose to come back to raise our boys in a town that doesn't just call itself a neighborhood, but chooses to be one. I try to embody this spirit. I coach with the Boys and Girls Club, I chair our Cub Scout committee, and I volunteer with the Cheverly Village. I've spent 16 years as a public high school math and personal finance teacher in DC, serving on school leadership teams and testifying before the DC Council and the State Board of Education to advocate for the students I serve and teachers. When I started teaching, I saw that many of my students didn't trust the school system because they had seen people fail and people that they love be failed by it. So I made them a deal. If I can't explain how we're going to use what we're learning in class, we don't have to learn it. That promise became my compass. Don't ask people to invest in systems that can't explain themselves. And that's how I approach public service. Whether we're talking about Hospital Hill or traffic near the metro, my question is always, can I explain this clearly? Can I defend it plainly? And does our plan reflect the realities and concerns of the people it's meant to serve? That mindset is what led me to run. When I heard that Bladensburg had attempted to annex Hospital Hill, I realized this was the first major development opportunity for Cheverly since I was here as a kid. And I would be remiss if I did not do my part to help us get it right, economically, environmentally, and in a way that serves the residents who are already here. I believe good governance starts with good faith. We don't always agree, but when we assume best intent, disagreement does not have to stop progress. I'm running unopposed, but I still knocked on every door in the ward, because trust is not earned by being on the ballot, it's earned by being present. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Briner. I use she, her pronouns. Thank you so much, Ms. Barbara and Keiko, for having this opportunity. I thought I would take this opportunity to answer one of the infamous Cheverly Exchange questions that's been floating around. What job am I applying for? Nominally, I'm applying to continue to be council member for Ward 3. But I'd like to take a minute to show you what that looks like for me. After 2 terms on council, I know where the real work of council members happens, and it's not just in this room, and it's not about talking into this microphone. It happens out there in moments that don't make the agenda. It gets done at midnight when I'm sitting on my couch in the dark answering emails after a long meeting, because you deserve transparency, not just decisions. It gets done at 7 a.m., knee-deep in cold water, because there's a water main break and I'm knocking on neighbors' doors to make sure that they can move their car before it gets damaged. It gets done in neighboring towns, eating really gummy pasta and bad salad, but talking to other municipalities and building relationships so that Cheverly has the allies we need when we need them. It gets done on Zoom at 8 a.m. every Monday morning from my car while I'm dropping my kids off, because even on busy mornings, I need to be on that legislative committee call to fight for what our community needs. This is what I've been doing. This is the work I believe in, not just pointing out what's wrong, but rolling up my sleeves to make it better. Elections invite us to ask what kind of leadership we want, and so we'll hear lots of critiques. That's part of democracy. But I believe your vote should go to someone who's been in the work, not just watching from the sidelines or waiting until campaign season to show up. Because the truth is, this job is hard, it's often invisible, but it matters. And I'm ready to keep doing the work with you and for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First, I'd like to apologize for being a little late. Most people know me as Coach Chris. Today was my son's first game, so my priorities are faith, family, education, and service, so I had to watch my son do his first at-bat. Thank you to Keiko, Ms. Brown, for your leadership, all that you do in the town regarding that. Again, greetings, everyone. I am Christopher Wade. I am your candidate for Ward 1. Born to a pastor and educator who were pillars in their community, my commitment to public service has been guided by the mantra of faith, family, education, and service. With your support, I will commit to progressively moving Cheverly forward with a purpose. With this commitment, I will continue to work to enable our beloved community to thrive through transparent and trustworthy leadership with dedicated commitment services. My 25 years of public service on the federal, state, and local government level is a proven track record of my effective governments, as well as makes me a qualified candidate. Currently, I serve as your council member in Ward 1. During my tenure, I championed and shared priorities of community engagement, economic development, education, and public safety. Examples of this includes our annual Ward 1 Community Day, the first time that's ever been done, where we brought out over 50 key stakeholders in the community on all levels of government. I will continue to do that as far as that community engagement. I'm also a staunch advocate for the residents of Ward 1 regarding economic development. As soon as I got on council, I addressed the issue of annexation and making sure that Ward 1 and Cheverly as a whole, that the development is in the best interest of Cheverly and not developers as a whole, but working with the developers for smart economic development. I also worked with the council as far as public safety to bring back 24-hour policing, the first time that's been done ever. So I look forward to working with you, speaking with you about further running. Let's continue to let Cheverly stay strong.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, neighbors. I'm Elaine Johnson, a certified write-in candidate for Ward 6 and a longtime resident of our quiet town since 1995. Imagine finding out that you have no voice, no vote, and no consistent representation, even though you have elected someone to represent your best interests. What would you think if you discovered transparency issues, conflict of interest, and lack of responsiveness from someone claiming to have integrity? Would you turn a blind eye or sound the alarm? It was the latter for me, and that's the reason why I'm entering this race at the 11th hour. As an action-oriented person, I cannot stand by while an unopposed candidate runs for re-election under a cloud of ethical concerns. I love my town. I love my neighborhood. I love my home. I believe elected officials have the obligation to explain their decisions and actions, and they should be held accountable. Operating in isolation prevents open communication, raises suspicion, and does not earn our trust. I am running for the Ward 6 council seat to give my fellow residents what we didn't even know we were missing: full representation. My platform is clear. I support an open and responsive government, full transparency, and no new taxes. People are losing their jobs and their homes, and seniors are losing their dreams, and investments are eroding. I support a balanced budget and prioritize public safety. Promises made will be promises kept.
Thank you.
Okay. My name is Mr. McGuire. Thank you, Keiko. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Now, I've had to tell what it takes 2 hours, I'd say, in 2 minutes. To begin with, I ran against Mr. Watson when he was for Council Ward 2. Unfortunately, I had a sinus infection, and lack of clarity for 2 out of 4 of the 6 weeks. So unfortunate, but I brought his vote count from 204 to 117. I believed in Ward 2 then, but also I believe in Ward 2, but I also believe in the town of Cheverly. I thought if he believed in the vision, I wanted him to prove it. But unfortunately, because of a paper error and last minute, believing that I had more time, even the talent to do paperwork that would take an hour, I did it with about maybe 22 minutes, A through K statements and all that. I wished to be, from the very beginning, a mayor, because I thought we can do better. But I'm happy that people have stepped in for this political cycle for council, Ward 2, and other wards. Before, it was pretty lonely, just incumbents and 1 or 2. Now, I applied for the job for a candidate for mayor, but unfortunately, because of paper error and doing stuff at the last minute, I apologize for that. Unfortunately, I asked for paperwork for mayor, and they gave me paperwork for council member. I can't recall the employee. So basically, or employees. So all I can say is I was A through K and fill in the wrong paperwork. It won't happen again. And I will not let illness let me down. I will be able to let Ward 2 or even this mayor. Now, unfortunately, I can only say in 2 minutes or less for the council position. But I wish, as a write-in, Mr. McGuire, Sean, first name, for mayor. I wish I would have been in a part of that debate because the code, a candidate can't apply for 2 positions, only 1. And I'm only paperwork showing for Ward 2. Now, these are good people, but I brought his vote count from 204 to 117. And as for grants,
thank you, Sean.
I want to say, we're going to have a deficit, accounting deficit, because the present administration is not going to give a grant to this town. Now it's time to make sure that problem
Thank you,
doesn't
Sean.
happen.
Okay.
That's Ward 2.
At this
I'm
time,
fine for you now.
thank you.
2 minutes or less.
Okay. At this time, we will begin the questions for the council members. You will have 1 minute to answer your question. And please, if your 1 minute is up, you see the clock, please finish your sentence. We don't want to just cut you off if you're still speaking, but end it in the sentence that you're stopping at.
Erin, my understanding was Erin Martin was here but online. Is she?
I don't know. I haven't gotten any.
I'm here. Hello.
Okay, Erin, okay. Good morning. Where is she? I can't see. Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Hi.
Please give your 2-minute introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Erin Martin. I'm running for the Ward 2 council member seat to bring a fresh perspective to the town council and strengthen our special community. I want to thank you to Keiko for planning and organizing this forum so our town can get to know the candidates and make an informed decision. I wish I could person to meet more of you, but I'm currently attending a retreat in Sedona that was planned prior to the election season. I moved to Cheverly 4.5 years ago during the pandemic, and I could not have picked a better town to buy my first home with my rescue pup, Piper. I'm a proud native of Prince George's County and the TERP alum. I'm a lawyer by training, and I've spent my career doing federal public policy advocacy on voting rights and education, privacy, copyright, and the federal judiciary. I've gained invaluable experience building relationships, representing people, and shaping and enacting laws throughout my career. I've also served in leadership roles for bar associations, including as president of the Greater Washington Area chapter of the National Bar Association, as a tutor for elementary through college students, and for the Capital Area Food Bank. I've also been recognized as a top 40 under 40 lawyer by the National Bar Association. I have 4 main priorities if elected as council member. The first is open and honest leadership. I'm committed to accessible government that works for all of us, and I'll make sure that everyone in the Ward 2 receives regular updates on our town to keep us informed in multiple ways. Number 2 is growth that respects Cheverly's charm. I'll advocate for intentional development that enhances our community without compromising its character. Third, safer streets for a stronger Cheverly. Safety starts with community. I'll make sure that we maintain 24-hour community-centered policing that's responsive to you and push for well-lit streets in our ward, as well as other traffic calming measures like raised crosswalks. And fourth, efficient government as well, to make sure that we maintain our budget priorities that reflect our community needs. I'll build on existing transparency and accountability and make sure that we're using our tax dollars wisely. As I've knocked on doors over the past few weeks, I've enjoyed meeting so many of you and hearing your concerns about taxes, development, and safety in our town, and I look forward to working with you to make Cheverly a better town for all of us. I humbly ask for your vote to serve as your representative on the town council.
Thank you, Erin.
I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll begin the questions for the council members. Ms. Thompson, what environmental infrastructure issues would you make a priority if elected?
For that question, detailed environmental infrastructure issues. We have a problem in the town, not just in the town, but sort of in the area overwide, that with our watersheds. And there is actual infrastructure that needs to be developed and has been recommended to sort of correct these problems and not only make our lives easier by no flooding when you drive down on 202. If there's a heavy rainstorm, you see giant flooding right there at the bottom of the hotel and the new station 202, formerly Fratelli's restaurant. But
Ms. Thompson, if I may, they can't hear you well. Can you speak? Get a little closer to the mic. Yes. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. All right. I'll just continue from where I was.
Yes. Oh, wow.
That got a little awkward, didn't it?
Okay. Ms. Green, what environmental infrastructure issues would you make a priority if elected?
I think Cheverly has the benefit of a lot of good thinking on the environmental issues. The Green Infrastructure Committee that's been operating in our town since 2011 has done an amazing amount of work, and they have put forth amazing studies that cover a range of issues that affect all of us, from the Quincy Run and other streams and creeks that we have, including Lower Beaver Dam. Those need to be protected. And the newer issues that have come up, some of which emerged from the new development. I was pleased to find out at a recent meeting that the developers were taking seriously recommendations from the Green Infrastructure Committee, monitoring the dust that was generated from the demolition and making sure that the air quality stayed within proper levels. And I know over the years we have engaged and had the benefit of air quality monitoring in partnership with the University of Maryland and our committee. So I think those things should continue.
Thank you. Mr. Wade?
Thank you for the question. There's a lot of issues as far as the infrastructure. As mentioned before, the flooding. We have, as being on council, I was here when the flooding a couple years ago basically took out the town. Regarding the quality Quincy Run and Lower Beaver Dam, particularly the Ward 1, as mentioned, the dust, Hospital Hill development with the dust. My constituents reached out to me. I reached out to work with the developers to make sure that we have monitoring for that. In the far west side of Ward 1, there was a dumping site of land that was owned by the town for decades. It sat there right off of Landover Road. I've been working with Cheverly Nature Planning Project. We have done several cleanups to make that into a park. So we're in the process of do that, working with AWS as well for that. Also on Newton Street, we also own another property that's been a dumping site for years. Someone attempted to purchase it. We're working with the Green Infrastructure to make sure that I work with them to make sure that things are done properly with that.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Well, in addition to what has already been said, what is of a paramount concern for Ward 6 has been the noise pollution abatement with the building of some type of wall or structure along Route 50. That has been a big one. We do well with the litter control, recycling, code enforcement. Those are all areas in which the town has consistently done, I would say, fairly good with. Water issues has always been and is an issue in our Ward 6 as well, in the area of needed focus.
Thank you. Mr. McGuire?
Town. For example, okay, just water quality, not towns and roads and all that. Okay, let's work on the watersheds, making sure that they can handle the water load during a downpour, 2 or 3 inches during the summer sometimes, in which 50 at one time was flooded briefly. And then issues in Ward 1 or Ward 6. I walked the long hills and cul-de-sacs. I noticed some of the areas are being maintained, the ponds, I guess the deltas that collect the water. But then I've heard horror stories of WSSC leaving people in the lurch, residents in the lurch on property. Is it on their property or is it just on the edge? And then who gives the bill? We don't want to play that game, And as for, well, make sure the nature can handle the deluge of water and that we also complement it so that there are no problems. That problem we don't complement or even work together or even with nature or even WSSC or Washington Gas doing repair work, basically there's no complement, there's no balance. So then you have imbalances. You have your overfills, or even as pollution, air pollution. Well, how about outside of town,
Sean,
too? Address that problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Bryant?
Thank you, Ms. Barber. I think it's been said before and will be said again at this table, but water is the main infrastructure issue when it comes to environmental concerns that I think we have. Everything we do in town impacts the water around us, Quincy Run and Lower Beaver Dam Creek. And so our decisions need to be guided by thinking about not just what's best for the town, but what's best for the nature around the town. We've done a lot of great work with stream restoration, and we recently achieved silver status from Sustainable Maryland, a certification level that we have not achieved before, which I'm really proud of. And we're continuing to make decisions guided by things like the Green Infrastructure Plan that show us what are the best ways to make sure that Cheverly remains green.
Thank you. Mr. Woods, excuse me, Sean. Mr. Woods, would you? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. So for starters, it's, we're in a great position because we have the Green Infrastructure Committee, and we have a really great green infrastructure plan, which even though it is several years old, has lots of great recommendations. Stream restoration, managing the tributaries better, especially along Quincy Run and Lower Beaver Dam Creek, but also identifying small incremental improvements that we can do across town, whether it's rain gardens or street trees, to help address the fact that we probably won't be seeing large-scale federal projects in the near future. These really all do come to address the fact that water is, and stormwater is a huge issue for the town all over. Additionally, working to maintain biodiversity and making sure that we're looking at native plantings when we do things, and then also identifying and better being able to measure air quality within Cheverly. Having a federal resource monitor to look at that air quality that's from traffic emissions and all of the traffic that we see in the industrial areas and inside the Beltway. Being able to identify those challenges and then mitigate those improvements.
Thank you. Amy?
Thank you, Ms. Barbara. So just to repeat, I think that stormwater is one of the major things in the town of Cheverly and in Ward 6. That's what happens when you build a town on a lot of different tributaries. Okay, thank you. Sorry. So stormwater being the biggest issue, and I would just say that for Ward 6 especially, and as Ms. Johnson has stated, the area behind Forest Road that abuts Highway 50 is a major concern, and that's why I'm very grateful to Annapolis and our Senate and delegates who helped us get $500,000 so that we can do an actual erosion study and a water study right there, and that back to see the actual ability to be able to put a sound wall up as we continue to advocate for that. Aside from that, I would want to say and acknowledge that we did have these quote-unquote soup bowls that existed prior, so that flood we all remember from a few years back. Those things, it took a significant amount of leadership to bring different agencies from the county together to work on and to address those issues.
Thank you. Mr. Legault?
I think we need to be sort of more aware of environmental issues in general. That I think what everyone has said so far is, I would echo their comments as well. I think that what the work of the Green Infrastructure Committee is doing is of paramount importance, and they're doing great work, and I would fully support their continuing work if I were elected to the council. I think the work of the Native Planning Committee group here in Cheverly is also doing great work, keeping invasive plants at bay. We should also be looking at the energy use within town. I mean, we've got the windmill out in the field out there. That we should be looking at our energy use and alternative energy uses, solar, wind, and other green energy uses to be able to maximize our use of energy use here in the town so that we're not reliant on traditional uses of energy.
Thank you. Mr. Tansey?
Thank you very much. A lot has been said. I'll just frame it a tiny bit differently, that I think there's internal work that has to happen. There's flood mitigation within town, and that's mostly about safety. But there's also runoff. Wherever you have flooding, you have contamination. And so we need to be thinking about contamination both within the town and in the greater area, since we are surrounded by industrial zoned areas. So Beaver Dam Creek and things like that will never be safe unless we're also taking that into account. I'm glad Councilmember Fry spoke about engaging other outside organizations, because we're also surrounded by State Highway Administration roads. So we see flooding on 202 under the BW bridge and things like that, that we need to be reaching out to them to make sure they're taking care of those issues, which are safety and environmental issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martin?
Thank you. A lot has been said, so echoing a lot of the comments that have been shared about the water drainage in relation to the flooding in town. I also know because the town was built over the tributaries, some people had sustained flooding in their property where it's perpetually wet in their yards, which is an issue that happened in Ward 2. It happened in my own property there. And then WSSE, we had some contractors that did some plumbing to fix the issue, but I think it's also important that we make sure that WSSE's contractors, as they do work to repair water drainage issues, that they make sure that the properties are put back the way that they initially were. So I know some people that are on Dewey Street that had some work done, and our grass was removed and it has not been replaced, for example. So I think following up with the contractors that are doing work in the town is important in sustaining our environmental infrastructure as we have work done. Another thing, in addition to the noise pollution, is also making sure that we're protecting a lot of the old trees that we have in Cheverly, especially thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Irvin, may I ask, are you able to see the stop clock? I just want to make sure you have that same opportunity being on Zoom. You can't see it.
I cannot, but I will I'll set a timer on my phone.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Question number 2. Do you think changes need to be made to the town code, section 4-10, regarding pet waste removal on residents' property. I just need a yes or no answer. I'll read it again. Do you think changes need to be made to the town code regarding pet waste removal on residents' properties? Answer yes or no, please. Thank you. Sean, Mr. McGuire?
Yes, and I've not read the code. Well, it's private property, and you don't have the right to leave and pee, whatever, your dog. And
The question is yes or no, sir.
No.
All right, thank you. Mr. LeClerc?
Having not read the code, but I would say for pet waste removal, you should remove it, so.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Fry?
I would also have to say I'd have to check the code to see the actual language of that. So I don't know that I can answer yes or no at this time.
All right. Mr. Wade?
I don't know the code as well. If the code deals with removing pet waste, you should remove the pet waste from that soil. I'll be in favor of changing that if that's the issue.
It's yes or no.
Ms. Martin?
No, I would not be in favor of changing it.
Thank you. Mr. Tansey?
No, I don't think it needs changing.
Thank you. Mr. Woods?
No, I don't think it needs changing.
Thank you. Ms. Green?
I haven't read that part of the code. I've read the other parts. If it requires pet removal, waste removal, yes. If it does not require pet removal, then no.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson?
I have read the code, but I do not have it memorized, and I'd have to reflect on the code in front of me before I answer such a question.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Reiner?
I only had time to read half the code, but I would say that certainly if there is not clarity, if people are confused about what it means,
I think that's what it is.
then we should, I mean, any code that we have, if there's uncertainty about what it means, we should look at it and make it clearer.
Thank you. Okay. Question 3. Both the country and state are facing significant budget shortfalls. How would you handle any additional pressure placed on the town as a result? Mr. LeGlorick?
So, as I said at the outset, I'm a federal government employee, so I am aware of sort of the issues that have been facing federal government employees and budgets in general. I've been coming to the budget meetings that the town has been having, and I have also said that one of the issues that new council members have to face when they come to the council is that within their first month, they have to adopt a town budget. And I've been coming to the meetings that they've been having, and there is some question about lower income taxes, lower property taxes that the town may face as a result of the issues that are being brought to bear from the federal government and the state government. So I think the town needs to look at that, but there is no immediate cause for concern as the town has a significant amount of money in its rainy day fund. So, but we will have to look at that going forward.
Thank you. Ms. Fry?
Could you repeat the question
Sure,
portion
no
of
problem.
the?
Both the country and state are facing significant budget shortfalls. How would you handle any additional pressure placed on the town as a result?
So I would say with that, one, we don't exist in a vacuum, so even with the budget shortfalls, I would still look I would still look to our state delegates as well as to our federal to see if there are any resources that can be pulled in. Even with the budget shortfall this year, I believe that our county was able to get $1.9 billion from the state. So we are still getting resources, and we can still rely on our counterparts in Annapolis as well as in, hopefully in DC. But we are in a position where we do have, as Mr. Legoic said, a healthy fund balance. We don't want to dip into that too far because that does affect our credit rating and our ability to loan money in the future for any projects that we might have later. But I think where we are currently, we are able to lean a little bit on that and just to plan accordingly, and we need to really prioritize what are the essentials versus what are just the wants that we have. And that's a conversation we probably should have every year during budget season, which starts in February, so please get involved around February.
Thank you. Mr. McGuire?
Budget. I've gone to town meetings.
Talking Mike.
Well, thank you. Sorry about that. I've gone to town meetings. I have the 1.9. I want to know if that's a grant and it has conditions or not. For the town, it has to jump through hoops and all that. Now, I have the impression that we have a grant from the administration. I believe, what is it, OMB or the grant? It was from the previous administration. I don't know, it could be 10 grand. It was never elaborated exactly how much the grant. So there is a shortfall. That has to be addressed or shortfalls get worse. Now, there's a question, I think there's $6.1 million in cash, but we should not think of how fast we can spend it because there are roads that are crumbling that we can't wait for WSSC or Washington Gas to decide which time they want to cut half the street up and then close and whatever and threaten to tow away vehicles. That seems like the town does little major work is WSSC and Washington Gas, but town little patches over the years.
Thank you.
For the roads.
Thank you. Ms. Briner?
Thank you so much. Every January, maybe even December, Mr. Galloway, our town administrator, sends the whole council an email saying, okay, budget season, what are your priorities? And this year I said, I only have one priority, and that is to not raise the tax rate. And can you work on that? Which is hard because costs are going up. And can I just say, the draft budgets that we have seen, our staff has done such a good job of finding places to cut, finding places to scale back, that I think we're going to do it. It's not an easy feat, and I'm so proud of them. I think, like everyone else has said, leveraging outside funding, but also making sure that that funding is funding extras and that we have a sustainable budget with the income, the revenue that we have, so that we're not relying on grant funding that might go away in the future.
Thank you. Mrs. Green?
Maintaining a balanced budget is obviously a key priority of mine, and not raising taxes is what I've heard that voters and residents want. And so how do you manage that? And part of it is you have to make tough decisions when you look at the budget, and I'm grateful that the council starts early and that they're doing that, and if I'm elected, I will continue to do that until the budget is finalized. I think grants, which I have been involved with the federal government and overseeing grants, are a key factor, but they can't be relied on indeterminately. So there is an end date, and that has to be planned for. I'm not sure how many federal grants will be offered to state and local governments in this administration or at this time, but we do have a rainy day fund, and that, like our own pocketbooks, like our own family, shouldn't be dipped into unless absolutely necessary.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wade?
Yes, it is a point to be made that when I joined the council, I did have to vote on a budget that I had no part of. So hopefully we can change that in the future somehow. But what I did do, I was one of only two council members. I did not vote to raise taxes. I don't think that it has to be off the back of its residents. But what we have to do, we had an aggressive budget last year. We have to make tough decisions. A lot of line item issues, things that the state has done as well as the county has done to make sure some services might not be have to be taken out, as well as possibly administrative staff as well. But Mr. Galloway, as a whole, has been very aggressive looking at grants. We should not do our budget off grants, but we should be aggressively looking at various sources, looking at Annapolis, looking at the federal government level as a whole from that standpoint. And we do have the rainy day fund. I don't want to tap into that, but again, the most important thing is it should not be off the backs of the residents. My wife, unfortunately, was affected, was let go after 20-plus years, and several members of the town have been affected by that, so we need to make sure that we take care of our residents.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Yes, thank you. And in addition to that, I would add that in making tough decisions, it will need to be that you may have to make some cuts. I know that as a small town, we have about, 6,000 residents. We have a pretty heavily staffed front office. And it may be that we need to make some cuts in those areas. With any budget shortfall, just as you do in your own home, you have to say, I have X number of dollars coming in, what's going out, looking at expenses, and then make a decision with that. I don't propose to know all the answers.
Right.
I would be representing my ward. I would be seeking advice from them and direction so that we can prioritize those things that are necessary. We do agree that public safety is one of those areas, but a balanced budget, unfortunately, means making some cuts.
Yes. Thank you. Ms. Martin?
Thank you. In addition to leveraging outside funding, I would make sure that essentials are prioritized in the budget every year, and I agree with Representative Fry to making that as part of an annual process, and I would also add that it could be something that's checked in quarterly and also twice a year as well to make sure that the funding is spent adequately, and also identifying other opportunities to generate revenue for the town. I think that's why it's important to have intentional development so that the town's main revenue source is not just our taxes and potential grants as well. We're looking into commercial revenue for the town as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Woods?
Thank you. Like many of my colleagues up here, we mentioned budget stewardship is an ongoing activity, and this is something that we should be looking at not only during the budget season, February to June, but throughout the year. In addition, if we're thinking and we're expecting lower revenues because of state and federal changes, we really need to be aware of what makes our budget fragile. And that's kind of asking those questions of what's our difference between revenue and maintenance and debt and interest, and how do we balance these so that we can make those decisions every year when we approve a budget. Mr. O'Rourke's right. One of the first things this council will have to do is approve a budget, and that's a pretty big responsibility. But I think if we look at the idea and the goals and the values of our community and identify small projects that we can all leverage moving forward one step at a time, nothing that breaks the bank, we can do this without raising taxes, and we can make sure that we're doing it in a manner that is fiscally prudent, looking for external funding sources such as grants for those extra projects. I have a pretty deep, extensive history of getting grants, and I'd be happy to lend that to the town of Cheverly as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tanzi?
Hello. A lot has been said. I agree with much of it. I think that what's important is the framing, that we have to understand that there are sometimes short-term costs that we can cut with minimal negative externalities, and so we need to be looking for costs like that, trainings, things like that, that we could cut back on if we believe that it is a short-term deficit. But we can't forget that we need long-term health in our budget. So what we don't want to do is cut some substantial program sort of bluntly, and then be sad that we don't have it 5 years later when maintenance costs, et cetera, have increased. So the annual process of determining what is a need and what is a want, what is required by law, like debt payment, and what is something that can be handled internally, I think does need to be part of the process to make sure that we're both balancing short-term constraints in our budget and long-term goals for the town.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson?
Here we are. Lots been said already. 2 points to pick up on. One is the rainy day fund has been mentioned a couple of times. the town does have and should have a rainy day fund. But if you look at our projected budget, if we keep going with the expenditures and revenue that we're taking in, pushing that out several years beyond, you'll see we go from the green to the red, and that's not okay. So obviously, some prioritization and looking at what we're doing needs to happen. As to that prioritization, I think we need to make sure the police and our public safety is taken care of first. That is number one. Public works comes number two. Everything else that we love and makes that comes after that. So that's what I would say as far as budget prioritizations should happen.
Thank you very much. Okay. Question number 4. What are your thoughts about the stop sign cameras being installed in town? We'll start with Mrs. Johnson.
I did attend that hearing and provided testimony actually in opposition, opposing it. I feel like we have so many surveillances, particularly in my ward where the cameras were to be located, was near the church, St. Ambrose, the school there, and near Gladys Doon Spelman School where I work. It raised a number of concerns regarding how those cameras were going to function there when we know we have safety patrols and guards there that are encouraging the traffic to go through the stop signs at particular times. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of traffic blocking that area. So I testified against that. I think that we need to consider some other avenues and some other ways of getting resources, but I did not vote in favor of having the additional stop sign cameras there at those locations.
Thank you. Ms. Martin?
Thank you. My understanding is that the stop sign cameras would be a cost-neutral addition to the budget, so it wouldn't be a revenue-generating aspect of it. I think that it's important for stop sign cameras that we make sure that we're accurately looking at the data for it, making sure that there aren't privacy concerns with the surveillance happening with stop signs, and making sure that we're regularly looking at the data to see if it's actually improving the safety in the town, and what avenues that we could look at, like increasing speed humps and making sure that we have better signage and lighting around the stop signs in the town as well. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. McGuire?
More than that's an interesting issue. I see that more as a revenue raising than a public safety, but it's a balance. It's real close. I would want maybe put it on pause, maybe another 6-8 months more debate on that subject. I have my doubts, pluses and minuses. I can't say I agree or disagree. I'm neutral, and that's just at this point on that matter.
All right.
Just to be fair.
Fair enough. Thank you. Mr. Tansey?
I did not go to that hearing, so I don't have as much detailed information, but from what I read online, I saw that there was a period that they were recording without enforcing anything, and so I'd want to make sure that the assessment of that data is public so that people can have a sense of, does this look like it's punishing what most people would consider normal behavior, or is this capturing what's egregious behavior that we don't know about because I don't happen to live by that stop sign? And if it's really people blazing through a stop sign, then obviously we need to do something about that. So until I have that kind of information, I can't tell how much of this is a public nuisance and how much of this is addressing a very real safety concern, because we have had injuries and fatalities. I'm not sure if it happened outside the town or just inside the town, but if you continue past Gladstone and Spelman towards Landover Road, there was a pedestrian fatality there not long ago.
Thank you. Mrs. Thompson?
Thank you. I commend to anyone that wasn't there, all of the council members were there, and just a couple of us in the audience, to go and watch the recent hearing, the public work session from Thursday. You're going to get some really great information. I was shocked to learn that in this test pilot they found 84% of they did 13 different locations, I think, 84% violations. We have people blowing through stop signs all over town, and it really is an actual problem. The company has addressed privacy concerns, and many privacy concerns were raised by the council. I actually thought the council members did a wonderful job of raising those. But we're talking about cameras that will be pointed down, stopping people from blowing through signs and running over your kids or your dogs, and we have control over the data. We don't have control over the Ring camera data. We don't have control over dash cam data. But this is a very safe mechanism and secure mechanism that's being introduced. Please watch the hearing.
Thank you. Mr. DeGoat? Sir, excuse me. We all friends here. How do you pronounce your last name? I'm not doing a great job.
LeGlowick.
LeGlowick. Gotcha. Okay.
LeGlowick.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I was at the meeting with Lane, and as I say, I learned more about stop sign cameras than I ever wanted to know. That discussion went on for quite some time, but as I say, it was very informative, and as Lane points out, the town would own the data, and it would be revenue neutral. We would have, the public safety would be protected, and the privacy concerns are addressed. This company, which has been in business for, several years, they're not going anywhere. There was, no concerns about, this company going away, and so I think it's a win-win for the town. And as I say, so I think it's something that the town really should explore and move forward with. So I think it's something that we really should move forward on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Fry?
Thank you, Ms. Barbara. Yes, this last work session, we had a much more thorough conversation than we did at the public hearing, which is odd because typically it's the other way around. But, there is very much a privacy concern, and that privacy concern has to be balanced with our public safety issue. 84%, even at stop signs where they might not have a lot of traffic, it was still 84% or higher, I believe. So we have an issue, and it's not just people driving through our town, it's us too. And we do need to change that culture of how we drive through town to keep everybody safe, including ourselves. So, and I don't want to steal Councilmember Briner's thunder because she came up with an excellent idea, and I think it's the last thing that we kind of tasked in that meeting, not knowing who will be there in May, is that they're going to put together a group to talk about what that policy is. And I think one of the great ideas of it is to treat it similar to other traffic concerns where you have to petition, get a certain amount of people on your street to want to do this, and then it goes to a hearing.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Woods?
Sure. So enforcement is a key part of traffic safety, and it needs to work in tandem with other roadway safety measures to improve overall traffic safety for people walking, riding bikes, and driving. Other communities in Prince George's County have tested out these cameras, and it's actually shown to reduce the number of motorists who are running stop signs, whether they're completely blowing it or they're kind of going slowly but not really stopping. After getting citations in the mail, they are stopping at those locations. Maybe this is one of those things where what we really want to do is, in addition to having kind of the community output of where we would put a camera, but also have a resident group that works in collaboration with the police department to review activities of the company in an ongoing way to see how the camera stop signs are, how effective they are, where those cameras could be placed, so that it's not something that's just like, all right, it's here and now we're stuck with it, but it's like this is an ongoing experiment for the town of Cheverly to improve safety for everyone.
Thank you. Mrs. Briner?
Councilmember Fry stole my thunder. Look, we're in unprecedented times, right? And a lot of data that we were guaranteed was safe and private is now not at a lot of different levels. And so I think we just need to be really thoughtful about this. My residents know pedestrian safety is really important to me. The speed cameras that I pushed for on 202, dozens of citations a day. We have the biggest stop signs in Cheverly. They're huge. You should come visit them and stop at them. I want safer streets, but I worry about these surveillance concerns. So I proposed two things at our work session. The first is a broader resident advisory body for surveillance that would review policies and review new technologies that are coming in. And then also having a process similar to the speed hump process where the neighbors that are most impacted, whose daily life could potentially be on camera, would have to sign a petition.
Thank you. Mr. Wade?
We had two meetings regarding it at the work session as well as the special meeting regarding it. I'm on record saying I am for it. The location that's in Ward 1, on a daily basis, there's 1,300 violations at an 85% rate. That's just one of the locations in Ward 1. And I believe the one on Kilmer is about an 84% violation rate. And with the vendors, they said it's about 3,284 daily violations. Monthly, that's about 90,000 violations. I am in agreement as far as our privacy. I believe the mayor and council have done a due diligent job to ask the right questions. We are going to definitely have more community engagement. I am supportive of Councilmember Briner with her ideas as a whole, but we just had a death on Landover Road outside about a week or two ago of another fatality. And public safety being one of my main focuses, that we need to make sure our town is safe as a whole.
Thank you. Okay. Question 5. Are you for?
I didn't get a chance to address that, Ms. Brown.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Daphne?
The signs, stop signs?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
No problem. I am obviously for public safety. I very much think all of us are at risk when any of us goes through the town and goes through stop signs. I'm impressed about the study that was done before the implementation. I knew that there was a study going on, and I'm glad that they weren't just installed, that there was a study to analyze the impact of those. As we all know, citations create a disincentive for doing a lot of things, like speeding, and we have speed monitors on Cheverly Avenue, and these cameras on the stop signs would do the same thing. Now, I do very much respect and also have privacy concerns. And that's where I think community engagement and input, and as an advisory body to make sure that the cameras are pointing down and not at any houses so that nothing could be identified. And then I know I've heard that it's neutral revenue-wise, but if there is a citation, perhaps that will generate money for the town.
Okay. Thank you. Question 5. Are you for or against street access to Hospital Hill from Cheverly? Please answer for that or against it. And Ms. Green, you're next.
I think this is more than a yes or no question.
It's
so
for
I would
or
say
against.
for with conditions.
Thank you. Mr. LaGornick. Oh, I did it then. LaGlorick. I'm going to say John after this. Okay.
John works.
We good. Okay.
My answer is against.
Okay. Christopher Wade.
Since it'll affect Ward 1 more than anyone else, as my residents already know, I am for what the residents of Ward 1, what they want. We have done several independent studies. We'll continue to do that, but making sure that whatever decided that Cheverly is put forth.
Mr. Wade, it was for or against, my brother.
Whatever the residents of Ward 1, what they want.
Okay. Ms. Briner? For or against?
For, and I have a whole series of bullet points about why, so I'd love to have that conversation with anyone who is interested or curious.
Thank you. Mr. Woods, for or against?
Hi. So I live on
For or
Tremont and
against?
Inwood at one of those streets.
Okay.
And so I would be for it if we have traffic
No, no,
calming
no, no.
measures to
I have to
support
keep it, I
slowing
have
those
to
people
keep it all
down.
together. Come on, we a team, we a team, okay? So it's for or against. The residents and those online, we'll have a chance to get with you all on it, to elaborate more. But you're, what is it, for or against?
I would support it with conditions.
Okay. Ms. Johnson?
Well, given that I have no data right now or any statistics in front of me, don't know what the ward
Oh.
wants, that it doesn't directly impact Ward 6, I'm going to say I'm against.
Okay. Mrs. Fry? This is fun.
And we're a team still, okay, we're still a team. Due to my boss's very public stance on this, I don't think it's appropriate for me to have a comment on it.
Okay. Mr. Tansey?
For with conditions.
Thank you. Mrs. Thompson?
Against, very clearly.
Thank you. Ms. Martin?
For with conditions.
Thank you. Mr. McGuire?
For with conditions and with some reservations.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Question 6. What have you done to contribute to the town of Cheverly in the past 3 years? Sean, we're going to start with you.
Sorry. I'm a person that's always the person behind the scenes. I let someone pull the strings by saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. So I let someone take the lead. But sometimes I'm implied that I step on toes. So I try to volunteer and let someone else, but I agree to help them. Input or physical, with chores or whatever. So what have I done for the town? I guess I'm power behind the throne, I guess. I don't know. Input if they wish to listen. Arrogance, sorry, but that's how I see it. But they wish my input and my ideas. If they don't, they don't. But what I've done for the town, well, I guess simply hope for the best, and if there's a problem, I will take that person to task and say you're right or wrong. That's, I step on the toes, c'est la vie, yeah?
Thank you. Mr. Tansey?
I have been active with the Cheverly Village since moving here. We built an addition so that my in-laws could live with us because they had lost their independence, and so I very quickly became involved with the Cheverly Village, at one point being on the board, and I'm still a volunteer with it. I also help run the chess club, which is sponsored by CPRC, which is actually going on right now at Bladensburg Library once a month. I am also chair of our Cub Scout pack, so chair of the Cub Scout committee, and I have been a coach for the past 2 seasons with Cheverly Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you. Mr. Wade?
I'm going to need more than a minute for that, but I humbly say that. But just to read off, things that are important to me. As mentioned, I coach the Cheverly Boys and Girls. I've been doing that for 3 years now, also sponsor them. St. Ambrose Casino Night sponsored them. Cheverly Day sponsored them. Cheverly Rec Council Pickleball Tournament for scholarships sponsored them. Worked with several of the organizations across the board, CAECO, several organizations. One of the biggest champions I did less than 2 months in, 3 months in, I started a Cheverly Ward one day, and where we had over 50 ranging from organizations here in town, on the county level, state level, all of our elected officials across the board, mental health organizations, that aspect of community engagement, public safety, 24-hour policing, traffic calming devices in the ward. We had illegal dumping in Ward 1 with over 500 tires off of BW Parkway. Worked with the town to get the federal government to remove approve that, to come and do that. You all know how hard and difficult that is. We also in Ward 1 had a new park being installed there, just to name that.
Thank you. Ms. Briner?
I kind of answered this in my opening statement, but 20-plus hours of my life every week, and also potentially my sanity, is what I have given to this town in the last 3 years. But seriously, the things that I bring as strengths are the things that I'm trying to bring and give to Cheverly as a town. I'm a museum educator and I'm a writer. And so one of the things that I do that takes a lot of my time is create a newsletter for anyone, not just Ward 3, so that people can understand what's going on in the town without having to sit through the meetings, right? You shouldn't have to give up that much of your time to know what's going on. And then the other part of that is establishing a policy subcommittee on the council that specifically takes time, lots of time, to look at policies and try to make sure that they are clearer and that they are appropriate. So those are some of the things that I have given to the town.
Okay. Let me see, I think that's everything. Ms. Martin?
Thank you. So over the past 3 years as a newer resident to Cheverly, I've served more so as an engaged and informed citizen. So I definitely take time to attend the town council meetings, even when they run late into the night. And I also make sure for things that I see around my community that I share any concerns that I have with my current council member and also with the current mayor as well, to make sure that we have a town that everyone feels safe in and where we can all engage actively to have a healthy community. I'm looking forward to volunteering with Cheverly Village starting later this year, so I just completed my training for that, and looking forward to getting more involved and hopefully serving on the council as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson?
Over the past 3 years, I have been involved in 4 key areas. One, speaking out about the constant raise in our taxes. I've been to the hearings, talking with neighbors about it, and I was particularly concerned given that the raises, not 1 but 2, came on the heels of the council and mayor giving themselves a raise. That was very disconcerting to me. I've been an advocate for noise pollution abatement for many, many years, getting a sound barrier around Route 50 in Ward 6. As I mentioned, I spoke out against the stop sign monitoring. Again, I think there are a number of issues. I would like to see the study that was done because I'm concerned in our neighborhood, we have at stop signs, you have to pull into the median and oftentimes the intersection rather, in order to even see traffic coming around as you make a complete stop. So I have a number of issues, as well as WSSC infrastructure problems.
Mrs. Green?
During the last 3 years, I created a community organization along with fellow neighbors, a cross-sector of the demographic and our town, called the Cheverly Forum for Accountability and Action. Our goal was to have more conducive conversations. This was formed to raise issues that our town appeared to be in conflict about. We talked about historical truths that relate to our town, present situations, and we talked about how we could be better neighbors, more collaborative, more cooperative. We had a variety of activities. We had a film showing. And we had a film showing on the town hall and a community dialogue with the law enforcement executive at the time, Chief Miller, and various members of the town council showed up for that, and the town residents. But I continue to support all of the organizations that I previously worked with in my years in Cheverly.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Thank you. Well, 3 years ago to this day, I was actually with my family, and I were overseas on government orders. So I'm going to stretch that timeline just a little bit, but I've continued since our return to be involved with the organizations that I was involved with since I've been here in Cheverly. Those are the Cheverly American Legion Auxiliary, which we know today as a pretty robust organization, although we would really love more people to show up at the meetings. It did not exist in functioning form before my advocacy and work with the state and lower levels, and actually, well, and higher and national levels. I reformed that organization, and I'm very proud of what it does in our town. I'm incredibly proud of it. I'm also a Chev Prom committee member and oftentimes chair, and we fundraise for other local organizations. I'm proud of that too, and other things.
Thank you. John?
Thank you. So I think, as I said at the outset, I've been actively involved in the 17 years that I've lived here in town. I've been involved with the St. Ambrose Men's Club, and I've been a board member of the Cheverly Swim and Racket Club. I've coached my boys through baseball of the Cheverly Boys and Girls Club. I've been the chair of the Board of Election Supervisors. If you haven't voted or registered to vote, you should do so outside. And so more broadly, the question, I think, the underlying question here is that volunteers are sort of the lifeblood of any good town structure. They should be at the top of a town structure. And it's the important worker of any town structure, and they should be celebrated and made an important part of any town structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy?
Thank you. I want to preface this with a lot of the work that gets done in this town and that I might tout as achievements doesn't happen without a lot of collaboration from our town staff, especially our public works and our administrative staff, and of course our police department. So just looking at the last 3 years of achievement, I think one of the things I'm especially proud of is the continued engagement that both Councilmember Garces and myself have done at Cheverly Station Apartments with our monthly meetings, making sure that management and maintenance is there to listen to the concerns of the residents. We've also begun the design for the accessible pathway that's going to go through the Kilmer Park Arboretum, which has been an issue for a very, very long time, well before I got there, where folks were concerned about connectivity, and that being part of our strategic plan, one of our priorities now. And identifying money for our new gym floors, I'm still very proud of that. I hear from my husband all the time how we need new gym floors. The $500,000 for that water and erosion study to help us to get that sound wall. And then, of course, the WSSC work as well, because it took a lot of work from all of us to massage our connections in the county to be able to get them to come back to finish. And it's not done yet.
Thank you. Mr. Woods?
Sure. So a lot of things that I've done, I've been attending and participating in Cheverly events, so whether it's Cheverly Day or St. Ambrose events with my son's school, or the Ward 1 and 2 block parties. I've also recently become a Cub Scout dad, which has been a lot of fun. I've also, over the past few years, been advocating the county and the planning department, especially as it relates to the Hospital Hill development, submitting public information requests so that we have information available regarding how they're looking at traffic and development plans, and that we're not left in the dark in the community. I also try and stay engaged as a resident within the community, raising concerns with my current council member and also talking with my neighbors. And then also just being a good person and neighbor in itself. And that's whether it's helping shovel the sidewalks, the people in my block, picking up trash when I'm going on walks with my family or campaigning, just doing what I can to make Cheverly a nice place to be.
Thank you. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this will be your last question for the day. How will you ensure transparency and accountability in your decision-making as a council member? We're going to start with John.
Well, I think, transparency is key, and we've sort of been addressing that issue going forward, with some of the other questions that we've been talking about today. And, transparency and communication go hand in hand. So I think that what's important to communicate here is that we work for the town. I mean, the fact that we would have to, as a council member, I would work hard to communicate to my constituents what is going on with the council, what is going on with the mayor, what is important to them is important to me. And if there is something going on with the council, they need to know about it. And that would be the reason that I am sitting in the seat that I am sitting. And I would make it my goal that they would know what is going on with the council and the mayor. That's period. End of statement.
Thank you. Mrs. Fry?
Thank you, Ms. Brown. In order to ensure transparency and accountability, I would, one, continue on with my newsletters to make sure that my residents are informed. I think that the creation of policies is essential. This is something that's not just lacking in Cheverly. It is actually lacking all over with other municipalities that we've spoken to. But it does take time because we use a lot of community engagement in the policies that we create because we value that. So I think that needs to continue, and I'm proud of some of the policies that we've already put forward. I think as technology improves, our communication has to improve. As we see things get easier or different in the way that websites work or even social media, we need to constantly adapt to and look to improve those things. But I do think that our town staff has done an incredible job. So I'm very proud of what they've been doing there. And then as with all of us, I know most of us up here, we do a variety of things and we have wear a lot of different hats. And so whereas needed, I would continue to seek out guidance from our town attorney as well as our Cheverly Ethics Commission where necessary should there ever be a conflict that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. I hope every candidate here will do newsletters, all of that. Let's call that a given. One thing that I want to see done very much differently is rescinding the changes that happened for the protocol at procedures at town meetings. I'm not talking the work sessions, but the actual town meetings where resident input has really been negated. I think that's incredibly important that if you as a town resident are looking at an agenda for a town meeting and, oh, that strikes me as something that I care about and I'm going to go to this meeting and maybe I would like to stand up and talk about it, within parameters, of course, you ought to be able to do so. So that is huge for me on getting feedback and allowing my constituents to be part of the democratic process. That's huge.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson?
This is the very reason I'm here today and running as a write-in for Ward 6, accountability and transparency. I would work to ensure that by following a few simple steps. One, begin with open communication. People want to know what's going on. Just be open and explain things. I'm concerned with the number of closed meetings and secret votings that the council has been having lately. It seems like that has been a change from the past when the public comes to give testimony, concerns, it's met with silence. There's no, we'll get back with you, so it looks like they're being dismissive, and that's not good. I would just really work towards having the residents of my ward have a voice. And by doing that, that means I need to be communicating with them and vice versa. They need to be communicating with me so that we can move forward with an open and responsive government, accountable.
Thank you. Ms. Martin?
Thank you. I've spent my career advocating advocating on behalf of people to advance policy goals. So I think I'll take that in my role as the council member. I'll make sure that I'm holding coffee walks and Zoom meetings at least once a month with my ward to solicit feedback on what's happening in town and see what they'd like to see. I also have an email newsletter and paper newsletter that's delivered to residents, and make sure that we're utilizing social media as well. And ethics are important, as it's already been shared, so I'll make sure that the ethics guidelines in town are actually followed, and when there are open or closed meetings, that it's transparently shared with community members for why those meetings are closed or open. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McGuire?
You turn it on, okay. I noticed there's a problem that's brought up. The newsletter is a 6-month delay in report of any crimes. I would say, not to put whatever on the former not running, but there was a fatality that occurred at the hospital, but it began in Ward 4. I'm just saying. But the reporting shows that a person passed away at the hospital, but the incident occurred in Ward 4. But I learned this, that it would be a 6 months delay. I don't know if it's been modified, but at the town meeting, I found out. So that was the lack of transparency that people online were alarmed to know that there was an incident in Ward 4 and a person died at the hospital, within like an hour or two, I don't know. So it's sad that there's no transparency, and it's sad that it's passing. All right, 9 seconds. Okay. If you have ethics, good ethics, your word means something, you say something, you mean it. Then you don't have to be questioned, because you will answer your question, answer your constituents without this nonsense.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Christopher Wade?
This is a great question. I'll continue to do what I've been doing currently. Again, the newsletters, that's something that's guaranteed to go out there regarding that. The main thing is being an advocate for your constituents. My day job, my title is School Community Engagement Advocate. I advocate for students and their family members. It's something that I've been doing my entire life of public service. What will hold you accountable is working with the volunteer and organizations, because they are the heartbeat. So they can, number one, they are the subject matter experts, and they're your neighbors, so they can definitely do that. I started what I call wading through Ward 1, where I meet with residents, whether that's doing the community Ward 1 Community Day, do several block parties, even teamed up to do a Ward 1, Ward 2 Community Day as a whole, and just the level of community engagement, knocking on doors, and of course email, social, media, website. I have my own website. So it's just about just being open to your neighbors and listening to them and being their advocate.
Thank you. Mr. Woods?
Sure. So definitely transparency and accountability are paramount to being able to do this job and to do it effectively. I kind of foresee as if I were to be elected, having a newsletter and a listserv or a web page where that people can always have access to go to. That's multilingual, so that there's no accessibility barriers in that sense. And then having kind of a guaranteed response from me if someone were to reach out to me, whether it's text or email or phone, knowing that they're not screaming into the void, that I hear their message and I'm getting back to them. Even if it's to say, I don't have the answer, but let me look into that. I think there's also an increased opportunity for collaboration with town groups and committees and commissions. They have expertise, and we want to benefit from their advice, and so I'd like to see more of that. Also provide a forum for the mayor and council to respond to residents who raise issues during town meetings. And to increase that opportunity for collaboration, so that when the community does come to the mayor and council, that there's a way to say, hey, we hear what you're saying, and this is how we'd like to address this. What do you think?
Thank you. Mrs. Green?
I think it all starts with accountability for me. I think that's a key attribute to have as a member of the council. And I take that seriously. In fact, as I was embarking on this campaign, I had questions about whether I could accept contributions, fiscal contributions that people wanted to give me. And I wasn't sure, and I did the research. as I'm wont to do, and there was an exception for municipal entities, and so I went to our town and our ethics commission, and I said, am I allowed to accept contributions? I have no idea. People want to help with the signs, et cetera. And so I did that even before I launched my campaign. And so accountability also means being responsive to the community, to the residents, to the volunteers, to the organizations. Transparency is key. I would communicate frequently every month. I would have a hybrid meeting, and I would have newsletters.
Thank you so much. Mr. Tanzi.
I wrote about this on the Cheverly Exchange recently, and it's what I called functional transparency, that there's technical transparency, everything's available online, minutes, et cetera. But something I want to focus on now, given the constraints of time, is what I call clarity of decisions, that the public, the residents of Cheverly should understand what are we debating, what's up for debate, what's not up for debate, and what's the point of inflection, what's the fork, where is the point of disagreement, and what are the trade-offs, so it's clear not just what was decided in the end, but what we were weighing and the positives and negatives of that. I want to be able to clearly state my position and explain why, and then I also want to make sure we put out what's still unresolved, what has not yet been solved. And I hope that by seeing the clarity of our decisions, people come to trust that it is a transparent process. They understand not just what happened, but why it happened.
Thank you. Ms. Briner?
I'm going to address the resident input aspect. When I first joined the council in 2019, there were no written policies for how meetings work. When is resident input? When are they allowed to talk? How do you make a motion? And I said, I need rules, right? I need written rules. So Councilmember Watson and I worked together to create a set of rules, and at the beginning of every council term, they are discussed, and the new council makes changes as needed. And here's why. We need to make space for feedback that is better integrated into decision-making. When there is resident input the night of a vote, it's hard to change the outcome of a vote with things that you're saying just before. And so the real resident input happens during the week. It happens outside of the meetings. And so in my newsletters, which everyone has newsletters, I make sure to forecast things that are coming so people can share their opinions ahead of time, and I'm always clear about why I vote the way I vote.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our council member forum session. I'll ask that you and the audience take a 20-minute breaks, and we'll resume. Yes?
Closing statements.
We all Yes, yes. After their closing statements, friends on Zoom and friends behind, we will take a 20-minute break. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Martin, would you like to give your 1-minute close? Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you again to Keiko for organizing this forum and for everyone attending on Zoom and in the room like being behind. Our moderators for taking the time out of your Saturday to attend. Cheverly is a thriving community because of you and your engagement. It's also amazing to see so many candidates here at the forum, and it's a testament to how engaged our town is. Ward 2, I hope to represent you on the council, and I promise to have open and honest leadership, push for intentional development and safer streets with 24/7 policing and community-centered policing, and for efficient government that uses your tax dollars wisely and doesn't raise your taxes. I strongly believe that our democracy thrives from an engaged community that starts at the local level, and I hope to connect with you soon and hope to earn your vote on May 5th. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone here, all of the candidates, Councilmember Briner, who is the sitting council member for Ward 3, which is the ward that I'm running for. I again, I'm not quite as smooth as some other people. I'm not a politician. I just really, truly love our town. I see some things that have gone a little bit off kilter. Again, I am very focused on Cheverly-only issues, and I believe very strongly that to make our town and to sustain our town that we all love, we need to prioritize and focus first on the police, second on the public works, and after that comes everything next. That's what I believe.
I want to thank Keiko again and all of my fellow candidates for a robust discussion. I believe I'm the best candidate to serve Ward 2 on the council because I believe that I will do what a good council member must do. I will serve with integrity and transparency. I will serve with impartiality. I will communicate frequently with residents, and I will keep the best interests of Ward 2 and the entire town of Cheverly as my guiding mission. I have 4 key priorities that are important to our residents, as I've heard through my walks through our ward: prudent fiscal stewardship, smart development and redevelopment, public safety, and accessibility of all towns and activities and services. And I will act decisively, and I will not hesitate to call for votes to make the best decision possible after considered deliberation of all the evidence. I pledge to give this job my best effort and to act in the best interests of the ward and the best interests of the town. I hope I've earned your vote on May 5th. If you'd like to talk to me further, I have documents in the back with my policy priorities. Thank you.
I just got some good news. My son won 11-1, so I'm really happy about that. The Cheverly Crushers.
All right.
I had to shout them out. But seriously, I want to thank again Ms. Brown for your leadership, and Keiko, everyone here for doing this. This is your 3rd time doing this, and also to my fellow people on the panel here. This is not easy. I'm just about to finish up my 1st term, so I commend you just for doing this. People ask why am I doing this? I'm a husband. I'm a father. And my wife and I moved to Cheverly because we knew that Cheverly would be the place that we would raise our kids. Cheverly has issues just like everywhere else, but there's nowhere else in the county I would rather live. And my slogan of faith, family, education, and service is the reason why I'm here. I will continue the work that I'm doing. I will do it even more aggressive. I will think outside the box, but most importantly, I will represent the residents of Ward 1 like I've done before, put them before anything else that's going for it. Thank you again for the opportunity, hopefully to get your vote again.
Thank you. Mr. Woods?
First, thank you for hosting this, and thank you everyone who's here in attendance. An engaged community is truly special. Again, I'm Brian Barnett Woods. I'm a father, a husband, a public servant, and I'm seeking your support to represent Ward 2 on the Cheverly Town Council. I have a wide breadth of technical expertise and experience that is directly related to local government, helping build safer, more accessible, more sustainable, more inclusive, and more productive places, and being fiscally prudent while doing so. I seek practical leadership and responsive governance to provide all our residents with the public services that you expect and deserve. We all want to see Cheverly thrive, and I want to help transform your ideas into actionable projects and programs. We have an opportunity to build and grow step by step in a way that will help everyone. I know that we can do this together. Cheverly is better together, and I thank you for your support.
Thank you. John?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to connect with Cheverly voters today, and especially my neighbors in Ward 2. I'd like to again thank Keiko for sponsoring this forum today. I want to thank my fellow candidates from Ward 2 for participating today. We have such a great slate of candidates in Ward 2. It was so happy to see that the ward is so engaged, and we fielded so many wonderful candidates for this open seat. I've enjoyed being out on the trail with all of you. Regardless of the outcome, I look forward to working with them on the issues facing the ward and the town going forward. It's been wonderful to connect with so many friends and neighbors over the past several weeks across the ward, and I've enjoyed hearing so many great questions from people today. I look forward to the week ahead, and I hope to have your support on Monday, May 5th. I pledge to all of you, if elected, your concerns will be my concerns, your issues are my issues, and your questions will get my answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Briner?
I have a microphone, I'm going to use it. I have a request because lately our town staff has been treated unkindly, often. Both our town staff and our Board of Election Supervisors. And some of the loudest critics of this council have been the loudest voices yelling at our staff and at our board. And that's not accountability, that's bullying. Our staff are professionals. They're not here to be berated or scapegoated. They're here to serve this community, and they do it with so much skill and dedication every day. If you want to lead, you have to model respect. Our employees are the backbone of this town, and when they're demeaned or dismissed, it doesn't just hurt them, it hurts Cheverly. So please, I implore you to treat them with kindness and respect, because they are what makes this town great. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Neighbors, at your urging, I have stepped in as a write-in candidate for Ward 6 Council. It is my goal to provide full representation and transparency in every transaction. I will amplify your voice and your vote, not only representing the constituency directly, but the residents of Cheverly as a whole. The best interest of our ward comes first. That goes without saying. I am not a politician, but rather a public servant dedicated to serving my community and ensuring the well-being of our citizens. I do not have any conflicts of interest, competing priorities, nor is this position a stepping stone for another career opportunity. I do not owe my allegiance to anyone but Ward 6. A vote for me ensures that promises made are promises kept.
Thank you. Mr. Tansey?
Thank you again for creating this space for us to listen and connect. I'm running to make local government easier to understand, easier to reach, and easier to work with, because leadership should make it easier for you to shape the town that you love. Ward 4 is unique. Almost 24 of it is physically separated from the rest of Cheverly by Route 50 and the Metro tracks, which means I have a responsibility to make sure every part of my ward feels equally connected to services, to decision-making, and to the future we're building together. I'll work hard to balance townwide goals with Ward 4's unique needs by staying visible, informed, and grounded in relationships. Thank you again. I hope you'll come out and support me on May 5th.
Thank you. Mrs. Fry?
Ward 6, I am seeking re-election based on proven track record and extensive experience in and outside of Cheverly. Cheverly does not exist in a vacuum, so the relationships I've built within our town and throughout the DMV enhance my candidacy, allowing me to continue to bring valuable resources to Ward 6 and our town. To be clear, it is public information that there is a court-approved policy that guides my concurrent employment with the county and my elected position. My dedication to being authentic, policy-driven, respectful, and compassionate has not only defined my character, but has established a strong positive reputation. I stand firmly on my abilities, skill set, vision, my background as an attorney to help me understand the legal and fiduciary duty to protect the town of Cheverly. Leaders should not rely on or spread disinformation, and they must do their due diligence and stand on their merit. My values align with Cheverly values, and I'm committed to continuing my work for Ward 6 and for Cheverly. Ward 6, I humbly ask for your support on May 5th. Thank you.
Just one moment.
My apologies.
No
Too
problem.
much caffeine.
Okay,
But I tried. Sorry, Miss.
Your closing statement, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, subject of transparency. I can tell you the road to get to this point, whatever. I ran for Ward 2 with pride. That I thought Ward 2 at the time, this was the last political season, not this May 5th. But at the same time, I mean, against a candidate for mayor. And remember, from a debate like this last 2 years ago, I guess, about a quarter to this day almost, I took his vote count because I thought Cheverly deserved better at the ward level. And I think at the mayor level, I applied for the job for mayor, and I'm only mayor for write-in. I do this ethically, my hard work and pride, for the good of Cheverly. And remember, we're doing it for the good of the Republic, as well as the good as a county. We're all together working as one, not divided. Ethically, I mean what I say. You don't have to ask, oh, did he mean that? No. Ethically, transparency, quality of life for the future betterment of Cheverly. The ward for the mayor position or Ward 2. I'm a write-in also, but I'm trying my best to do two hats at the same time. It's sorry to take off so fast. Thank you. All right.
I appreciate you all coming out, and thank you so much. I've learned a lot from each of you tonight or this afternoon, and what we'll do now is take a 20-minute break, and then we'll start the mayoral candidacy, their session.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
We'll start at 3:15. Thank you.